Don't redo it.
All right.
Yes. Hello, guys. My name is Lamel Overton. I am in the Language and Literacy Education Department. I'm an English education major, and my research focus is Black males' relationship in education. More specifically, I look at how Black males interact and find joy and elicit joy in their classrooms. But for right now, I am talking to three of my friends, looking at the relationship or their relationship um, between education and their experiences, understanding that Black men don't live in monolithic experiences and all Black men aren't the same. um I want to investigate this idea of Black men in schooling and figure out why aren't Black men in the teaching field, because these are Black men who aren't teachers. Also, we realize that when we're researching Black males in education, there's always just this decrepit and deficit lens that follows it. And I kind of wanted to gear off that, right? So that's why my focus is joy. But not everybody's going to experience joy, and not everybody's going to understand what joy looks like. So by looking at the experiences of these Black men, maybe we can start going and gearing towards our idea of a Black male-centered joy, or a Black joy that is centered in the classroom. So again, my name is Lamel Overton, and I am a language, I always say English education major, but a language and literacy education major with and focus in English education. You guys can go.
My name is Ted Brown.
My name is Kwame.
Tajudeen Maxwell, but everybody will call me Taj on this call, so that's me.
Yeah. So in this conversation, I've asked them to be unfiltered, authentic. And I asked that because I don't want a space in which Black men feel constricted, right? Because we understand there's a lot of spaces in which Black men aren't allowed to be Black men. And in that, I want this to be a space in which bell hooks can refer to as like a breath of fresh air, right? Of us saying that, hey, here is our understanding of education. Here's why we enjoyed or did not enjoy education. And in that, maybe we can strategize after the call on how we can create a more balanced and Black centered education or educational experience. So first, I'm going to ask if do you guys mind me recording this?
Nope.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Don't use it in the court.
All right. So now, do you think that first my first question is going to be, what is your relationship with education, or did you like going to school?
Is there any particular order in which we should answer?
Actually, no, just speaks to your heart content.
I have a complicated relationship with education. I went to public school my entire life, never went to private or charter or anything like that. The experiences in education are mixed because of just multiple factors. You know, you got all the problems with administration, then you got all your problems with your teachers, then you got all the problems with students. And the way I'm personally built, I am a bit too much of a sponge for emotions. And being in an environment where most people are probably damaged and they don't even know it, it was hard for me to actually focus on education. For the most part, the only thing I was learning was how people were hiding their hurt. Or how admin would look at kids and be like, oh, I wish I could help, but I'm admin. So it was weird. Like, I had the kid experience the whole time, but I had a second like viewership of the entire thing in a, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. I was just looking back as a spectator as well.
Yeah, Black men are typically have dynamic experiences in their school, right? Because not only do we go through life, and our life being a very unique experience, right? But we have to go to school, and sometimes that doesn't correlate, right? What's happening in our lives and how we speak at home and how we're comfortable we have to kind of change and assume a position when we're in a schooling space. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go. For the most part, I didn't have any problems with public education because, of course, me, public school as well. Up to about, let's say about high school, but high school, even I enjoyed most of the experience. But for me, certain things like didn't plan out because, certain teachers wasn't available at certain times for me, because when I was in high school and I wanted to take 2 AP courses, and it was one in AP Physics and AP French, both teachers ended up leaving the next year where I was supposed to take it, which is the senior year. So I didn't get that opportunity as some other students as well that can take these AP courses because there was no teachers to teach them that was available, even though they said that the AP courses was going to be in a university that you can probably take for high school students. But for me to travel from my high school, to go to just for one course in a different university downtown, it wasn't really take much interest in me. So, because you have to go to college anyway. It's only my college experience that seemed a little bit different for me because I went to a community college and it wasn't as like, I want to say, I don't know what like colleges are like when you go out to like dorms and stuff, but community college is not really socializing. It's really, you go to class, you do your courses, and then you just go home, really. So for me,
It's not as immersive.
Yeah, mostly it's just
Mhm.
so basically elementary through high school, it was regular. Like I enjoyed most of the experience. It's just college, it was a little bit different for me.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, right? And just going back to the idea of the unavailability in the AP classes. So, now the school that we went to, me, Taj, and Kwame, it was very Afro-centered, but I think that it still had a lot of the issues that many other Black schools have. So, for example, we didn't have the best teacher retention rate,
Mm-hmm.
When teachers go, they're gone, and then it would take a long time to have that spot filled in. And where a lot of other schools, so me teaching at Dunwoody High School, which is majority white, a spot dropped, 10 people are hunting for that spot, It wasn't like that for our school. A spot dropped, it went to a semester where you're losing that educational availability. So imagine what could have happened if you had that influence of somebody saying, you know what, I got you. I'm available to bring you to these places, or I can find a teacher who is willing to come and teach here because we have the funds. But that's just not, not our experiences though.
Do you think it was a lack of funds, or and I'm going to answer your question too, but do you think it was a lack of funds or a lack of Black teachers, like what this whole thing is about? Because it seems like our school was trying to make sure that they put Black people in position. So do you think it was?
So both questions, right? Excuse me. I think it was a lack of funds because you have to pay for those teachers to teach your classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that Banneker was only looking for Black teachers, right? Because then we did have Miss Sherry, Miss Yorenia, Mr. Miller. We had these other teachers who weren't Black, right?
I think you just named all of them, by the
way. Miss Iverson, don't forget her.
Miss Remsen.
Miss Rep, like we had a squad.
All right, there was a few. There was a few.
It was a few, right? But even in that, right? Like we knew that white people did teach at the school. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, why can't we get these people to come? What made our school so unattractive?
It was also a lack of recreation as well. We didn't have a yard, so we didn't have a football team, but we had to like travel in order to do sports in different fields. Like we didn't have our own field training. It was one of those schools.
Copper Hill had the same.
Terrible.
Our baseball field was in Red Hook, so dodging baseballs and bullets.
Oh,
but to answer your original question, Mel, it's funny. I had to one of Ted's points. Oh no, you actually said it. I'm sorry. To your point, I actually had like an opposite experience, where my vernacular had to switch outside of school, because growing up I was always like kind of nerdy and like book smart and a bookworm basically. Like I had zero street smarts. I had zero anything that had to do with outside of school. I was stupid at it. So it's funny because I had to change the way I speak to match with my community, as opposed to changing my community speech to match with school. But overall, K through 12, I would say I had a pretty good experience. I never really hated school, but like Kwame, I also went to a community college and I hated it, absolutely hated it. And then there's more to it that I think also plays into the Black experience, but I don't want to get too much into that right now. But yeah, I think that going away to school would probably have been a better experience. And who knows, maybe I would have ended up wanting to be a teacher, because if I go away, I would want to go to an HBCU and I would see that representation. But I'm sure we'll get to that in a second.
I know. I kind of want to let that be my next question, right? What stopped you, or why did you not think of going into teacher education, or why are you not in teacher education, or would you be? Like, and what do you think stops Black men? Because let's be honest, there's something called the I'm trying to get this right, the National Center for Education Statistics. And it states that Black men make up literally 2% of the teaching population around the nation. Now, that's trash, right? When you think of 2%, like think about it, 2% of the teachers, but and on the flip side, 50% of students are students of color. You know? So there's obviously this mismatched representation.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, why do you think Black men in particular, right, stray away from education? Because 2% means that there's still more Black women, right? They're not enough, point blank period, right? Specifically Black men. Why and because you're all Black men who go through Black male experiences and who think like Black men, what's up?
Okay, so for me personally, I kind of look at it as like a vicious cycle, right? It's like there's 2% of Black men that are 2% of the teachers in the nation are Black men. So all I see is that very small percentage, which makes me not want to be one, because it's just not something I see as a career choice a lot of times. And it's not a bad thing that I don't see it that way. It has a negative effect, but it's just I never thought of being this person. Like a lot of Black kids never thought about being the president until they saw Barack Obama do it. It's a thing where you have to see somebody else represent it, and then maybe you'll want to do it. Like you and Jay are black male teachers. You might have that influence where a kid wants to be a teacher now because they had a Black male teacher that was you or Jay. For me, I grew up with, I think I had a total of like 4, and I feel like that's a really high number, and I'm reaching. But 4 Black male teachers in all my years of school. So I had no reason to even think that this was a career choice for me, you know?
I think that's really interesting, right? Because you're so right. Representation does matter. And I think that the importance of having Black male teachers in the classroom is that people understand that Black men are not what they see, right? And I think that people have become so hypnotized, I'm gonna say, and fetishized Black men. You know, Black men are this, and this. And if you have a Black man, then you have this. But when he's a teacher, then what? Does that break that stereotype and that understanding of Black manhood? You know, so it's really interesting. Your point. Anybody else want to hop in on that?
I actually wanted to be a teacher. As I mentioned before, I am a college dropout. I studied at Medgar Evers College with a major in education, a double major in education and English, and a minor in creative writing. Man, I wanted to do too much. I was passionate, man. I was in these little programs. There was this one of my professors, Professor Creary, had this program called Imani, where it was a college outreach program trying to help out kids with their college application, because Medgar Evers is attached to a high school, also named Medgar Evers. So some people are allowed to just graduate from that high school and then go directly to the college tuition free. I like systems like that. But along the way, the Black experience happened. Life just started going left and left and left and left. I had to drop out of college due to homelessness, had to take care of a family, a blind mother, and all the while dealing with, people going through their own genetic predispositions within my family. So a lot fell to my shoulders. So I did not have the opportunity to continue to teach the way I wanted or pursue my education the way I wanted, because like a lot of Black men will understand, when a family falls on your shoulders and you don't want to be just another stereotypical Black guy, you drop everything for them. You do it all for them without complaint, whether you're dying or not. And I thoroughly regret not being able to become a teacher, because I know I have that inherent nature to want to mentor and, like, I don't know, sage people, I guess, because I see potential in everyone that I meet. As soon as I meet you, I will see what's wrong with you, but I'll also see so much more that's right with you and what can come out of you. So I think that overall, just the amount of issues that come alongside with the Black male experience when you are trying to pursue an actual education can be really discouraging and can cause you to lose all interest in the thing that you wanted to be. Like, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I was battered down to believe that I couldn't be. And now at this point, I don't even know what I want to be. Yeah.
So, first, appreciate your honesty, right? And your authenticity. There's a report by the American Psychological Association. I can't remember the exact report, but it talks about this secondhand trauma, right? PTSD that Black men experience from secondhand trauma. That is so unique to the Black men experiences. And let me tell you, there are so many programs for other people for support when things like that happen, to continue to make sure that they're afloat. And it's almost damning that that support wasn't given to you, right? Like, forget offered, right? But that you are even privileged to have such support, right? And you're so right. That stems exactly in the Black male experience that people don't even take into account. People say, yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but my boots are falling off right now and I have to continue to make them. Now what? Right?
And I have to
Sew
pull
it
up my
with your
family's
skin.
bootstraps. I got to pull up my bootstraps, my mother's bootstraps, my uncle's bootstraps. I got to pull everybody. I only got two hands.
And
And
all
I
the
still have
while
to reach.
maintaining
I
some
can't
kind
reach
of
for the
image.
sky and pull up my bootstraps at the same time. It's very difficult.
Wait, and worried about school.
And worry about school.
Which is such an interesting, because people will continue to note that education is the key to success. Education is freedom. But now you're saying I have to be in a point of privilege in order to gain this education?
That's how it's always been, though.
For me, if you're asking why the 2% is so, why it's like a 2% that Black men are teaching, then you would have to look at it holistically for me. Like, because then you would have to start thinking about a history lesson of why Black men don't really teach, whereas us Black men, we built this country using hands-on usually. So we started off picking, whether it was picking cottons of field, moving horses, doing everything hands-on. So even when slavery was abolished, Black men got jobs in factories. What is factories? Mostly hands-on factories, the mechanic work, as now, mechanics, constructions. You don't see a lot of women doing that job because it's not usually meant for women. So you have to think about, I think the number can go up to like 10% maybe for the people that want to teach. They should go teach, but you won't see that number get too high, only for me, for these reasons.
I think that he makes a point. about the masculinization of work, right? How there are certain jobs that are straight masculinized and certain jobs that are feminized. Nurses, for example, right? When we think of a nurse, our mind automatically goes to a woman instead of thinking of an occupation, right? Actor, we do this. Musician, we do this. And then we intentionally gender jobs, right? Policemen, firemen, as if police women don't exist or police officers aren't names and titles, right? But you're right. We feminize education, and we make it a sort of the job of the woman to teach, right? And not really the job of the man to step in education. But now I'm going to ask this question, follow up. Do you feel like that has caused an issue for not just black men, but black men in education, in your opinion? And I see you got something to say. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to add this on. Yeah, and what have been, or what would you imagine a black male-centered education to look like?
All right. Well, damn, what I was gonna say before.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I ruined it.
Wait. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't mind teaching. It's just that I wouldn't see it as a profession. Like for me, I'd rather learn a skill, whether it's being an electrician or something, learn a skill that can help the household first. That way somebody else can fix my problem. I'd rather teach who I can than rather be a profession 8 hours a day doing paperwork and all this other stuff. I'd rather teach a younger generation through that way instead of and learn, other things to help, build a family and help build other families. And whoever needs, my advice and whatnot. So I don't see it as a problem, but I mean, it could go from 2% to 10%. I feel like there's a lot of black men that want to teach, but they don't aspire themselves to do it, to get it done, because they have to probably whether it's in-home problems or outside problems, financial problems. So yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
It's like we're assigned, like Lamel said, we're assigning gender roles to jobs that don't require them. And a lot of this is based on, I know this is everybody's favorite word nowadays, but it's the patriarchy, right? Like men do this, women do this.
Yes.
The problem is that black men, black women, we try to take the reins of the patriarchy, but we get none of the benefits from it. So what we're doing, we're castrating ourselves before we get anywhere with it, right? So when we say that black men should be doing this and black women should be doing this, we're depriving ourselves of advantages that white people have had years and years to get, like I don't know what the percentage is, but do you have the percentage of what white male teachers are?
I can look it up.
If it'll take too long, that's fine. But yeah, I just feel like we need to stop assigning a gender role to jobs that don't require them. A black man, because I'm sure that you're a great teacher. I'm sure that Jay's a great teacher. And I think that we should have more examples than just you and Jay as great teachers.
Well, I don't have the exact number of white males. I do have
I was going to ask that question too.
The fact 83% of white of teachers are white. Which is 82, excuse me, which is still a staggering number.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna stress and say 20% of that is white males. I'm just.
And I think that it's not inaccurate to say that white women hold most of the roles in education, right? But on the flip side, black men hold the least amount of roles. And it isn't like our voices aren't important or don't have a position in education, right? Mm-hmm. Like, imagine how many people would grow up less hesitant to be themselves around black people had they just had a black teacher, growing up. And I think about the it's called the Lev Vygotsky. He has this theory about social cultural development that once you're around something, you get used to it, you know, and you learn to understand it and you learn from it, right? And I think that's where blackness lies, especially black maleness lies in education, and that's where it's missing.
I think you also have to kind of account for the fact that we've only been able to do these jobs for a short period of time in the grand scheme of things. So Black men not doing it, I think that you guys are setting a precedence, and I'm glad that you're doing something like this because I feel like you're getting on top of it so this won't be an issue in 10 to 15 years. But right now, you're probably like second or third generation that was able to do this. So the people that are going to come after us will probably have more opportunities to do it. Maybe we'll see an influx of Black men doing it, but what you're doing and things like this are very important to persuade people and let them know that this is an okay occupation. Like, this is something we can do. This is something that we should do as well. Because if you don't see it, you won't be it. And if you don't be it, nobody will ever see it.
So taking that point into consideration and mixing that with Kwame's point, how do we get to that at least 10%, right? What is the buy-in? Because from where I stand, ultimately there's still a hesitancy within getting in the field, right? Because I have only heard one person in this group who said, like, yeah, I'll do it. You know, everybody else say, yeah, I do it to some aspect. But, you know, and then how do we get people to erase that butt and say, you know what, just as much as you can be a lawyer, just as much as you can be a doctor, as passionate in that as you can be, education can fit in there as well. How do we buy in?
I think first and foremost, education has to be respected universally. Black men are very good at understanding disrespect and receiving disrespect, and even having to move in a way to disrespect themselves just to keep themselves alive. Like, you disrespect your very nature just because you have to do. Man, listen, monkey shining. Anyway, I think if there's an increase in the respect and like just an increase in respect for teachers, as well as actual addressing the different fields that disrespect education. I love entertainment. I love music. I love movies, but they don't always frame everything well. There's a certain idealization I feel that goes alongside with like certain rap songs, certain shows, and the bottom line is drop out, get your money, nigga. So that's what most Black kids do. They feel like this entire time that they're sitting in this school, they're wasting their time not getting money, and their ops are getting the money. We have to get the money over the ops, all that shit. And the whole time they're sitting in that room, they're not paying attention to anything that's actually being said to them. They're just wondering about when they're going to get out of there, as though school is jail. And I feel like maybe changing that environment might be beneficial to all of that. But yeah, I think it just starts with giving more respect to the actual role of educators.
Yeah, because I didn't even speak about how many Black people are comedians, entertainers, and rappers. Like, I didn't even get to that. I was just speaking about us, Black men being hands-on jobs.
I think there's this like this power structure that keeps education really white, right? For example, I was talking to a colleague about this recently about being an American lit teacher, right? So teaching American literature is like, okay, well, what do you read? And then you read all of these white dead text, but you have shit like James Baldwin out there. You have Langston Hughes. You have American text, but they're usually considered Black text, right? They're not considered American lit. They're Black lit. So they're offshoot on what the mainstream and contemporary literature looks like. So it's really interesting that, yeah, Black people see themselves as ball players because that's where you see yourself. And as rappers because that's where you see yourself, right? But if there's a system designed to say that intellect is a problem, right? Then why would I go for it? Especially in a space like school where I'm over-policed and underrepresented. I'm sorry, Todd. Just assuming you have something to say before I cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in this, it's like an hegemonic structure, saying that, yo, read white text, look at white science, because nobody talks about Henrietta Lacks. Have you ever heard about her? Henrietta, oh, she had cancer. She had special kind of cells where she died. They took her cells and they continued to use them for cancer because cancer cells would die rapidly and quickly, but her cells didn't. And they continue to this day using her cells without giving her family money.
Not a
just
damn
saying,
dollar.
Just saying, we used it for science, you know. But come on, this Black body that you don't even learn in school.
Like pretty much all current cancer research at its current stage started from her. Like y'all ain't
the
get
HeLa
nowhere.
cells.
Y'all ain't get shit. Until,
and it's
okay.
no, that it's such a weird dynamic on how Blackness functions in education, or what Blackness looks like in education. So it's like, how do you invite people into a space where they're not even seemingly to be invited to? I don't want to go to a party where nobody wants me there.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're still taught the BMI, and the man who created it didn't think we were people. He thought we were a different subspecies. And BMI is actively taught in public school. Y'all remember BMIs? Yep. The white man who created the BMI index did not think Black people were human beings. So it's just like...
I think all of that is connected to what I said earlier about we're just now being allowed to teach, like we just got the opportunity. All of this is new. Like, we're not invited to the party, and we haven't been forever. So now that we're finally starting to kick the door down, maybe we'll see some type of change, and maybe we'll see some type of increase in those numbers. Maybe it will go from 2 to 5%. Maybe we'll go from 5 to 10. But again, what you're doing is what's really going to influence people. And I think, to Ted's earlier point about kids being in school, seeing it as a prison, when you have a school that's predominantly Black, right? Like we went to Banneker, there weren't many kids that viewed it as like a prison system, because it was an environment, it was like a home. It wasn't education the way that the education system wanted to be taught. We learned about our Blackness there. We learned to accept who we were there. And I think when you're doing that with Black children, you have a better chance of getting through to them. On top of that, to Lamel's question about how do we retain Black men as teachers? How do we push them to that? Not necessarily push them to that, but I think that everybody, I was about to use a word that I know is the right word there, but I'm trying not to use big words for no reason.
Express.
I think everybody has, God damn it, again, everybody's able to teach, right? And I think there's a lot of Black men who want to do that, right? But the problem is, sometimes when you have that dream and it's not nurtured, you kind of cast it to the wayside, right? So if I'm in school and I show that I have this propensity to teach, and I have this desire, I want to do this so badly, and my teachers see it, but they never push that in me. They never let it be known that this is something that you should aspire to. This is something that you can do. All right, I'm also good at basketball. Let's see if that gets me out the hood, because I'm having fun with this. When I remember earlier, I said I had to change my vocabulary coming from school to the hood, right? It's because in school, it was always like, this is what you're taught, this is what you do, and then get out of here. Like, you just graduate, you go through the grades, but you're more accepted around your people. If my people were the ones in school that were teaching me, maybe I would have been like, okay, actually, school is dope. Teaching is something I want to do. Because Ted and Kwame could tell you, when we used to play ball in the park, a lot of the younger kids really looked up to me. And I think a lot of Black men have the desire to be a mentor because they wanted to be a teacher first, but they just didn't have that pushed in them. That's it.
For my last question is, where's the joy? How do you think that we can create a space of Black male joy inside of our classrooms?
This feels like a loaded question.
I know, right? So, and you can look at it like this, right? What would have made you joyful in the classroom? Pick a subject, right? Pick a subject, maybe your favorite teacher. How did they elicit joy? How was it done?
I have an answer. The segment that we do on the podcast, Black Bliss, the reason for that is because there's so much negativity in the world. I want to highlight the beautiful Blackness that happens as well, right? And I think the same thing happens with school. In school, they teach you about slavery, but they push out Langston Hughes, they push out Maya Angelou. They teach you about the Civil Rights Act, Civil Rights Movement, but they push out all the brilliant things that Black people have done. And that's tactical. It's to make you think that Black equals oppressed. So there's no joy in Blackness. Now, if you're teaching the children about slavery, because that's a big part of who we are, right? You teach them about that, but you also teach them the beautiful, brilliant things that have come from us. They learn that, oh, my Blackness isn't a curse. I can find this bliss. I can go to school and learn something that I actually want to learn. I think you'll find joy in that. The kids will find joy in that. If we're just talking about Black kids. Because it gets to a point where you almost associate learning with negativity. Like when you turn on the news, your body is prepared to be depressed because you're about to hear about a shooting. You're about to hear about all the bad weather. But when you turn on the Cartoon Network or something, your body's ready for joy because you know that, oh, this is what I go to for happiness. If school is that place that you go to for joy, writes itself.
Wow, will anybody like to add on to that?
What would have brought me joy? I said it on the podcast, but I had to refine it. And on the podcast, I said Gatorade. To refine, I think a better nutritional source in school would have been the game changer. I was dehydrated most of my school career, and I didn't realize it. And then, you get told, yeah, just drink the fountain water, but you're made fun of for drinking the fountain water. So should I go buy the bottled water and kill the earth? Like, there was no winning for nutrition in school, because if you ate the free, you a bum. But if you go spend the money you don't got, you fronting. Or then if you go ask for money, you're a beggar. Like, there was no winning. So nutrition would have brought joy.
For me, well, I have a kind of a big take on this. I agree with Taj when it comes to you need to portray people better in black people better in Black history in order for them to have that experience. But for me, I feel like it's college is where the Black man is usually set back, because most people usually graduate high school from usually with whether it's a Regents diploma, advanced Regents diploma, or just a regular diploma. I've seen kids that haven't even been in school, and then all of a sudden we find them graduating at the ceremony. I ain't gonna say no names. That shit was weird, but So for me, I feel like it comes to college. I feel like college, you should be able to set a degree to what you want to be, and then only have to learn every aspect of that way based on what you decided you wanted to be, instead of having all these different courses that they have you to take. Like, say if you wanted to be an engineer, right? Like, you should only have to learn math and basically engineering. All the English, all the psychology, all that stuff all that English needs to be taught. All that basic English needs to be taught in high school, and get it over with. So that way you don't have to go through that again. You should push courses back into high school. That way, when you graduate, you don't have to go through that in college. I feel this is why it takes so long. Because they would have a course for you to take, like an engineering, and then they have a course, but it's lab in the same course, saying that you have to learn how to make a proper like 5-page paper in lab in the same classroom as when you're learning how to make a transformer. That doesn't make sense. Separate the two classes. One teacher, learn how to make a proper report, and one how to make a transformer. It doesn't make any sense to me. They expect you to go home and like they give you a rubric, go home, and then you have to figure out how to make it properly, and then you have to take it back, come back. No, this is what you're paying. You're paying for college, even if it's financial aid. It doesn't make any sense. Say if you want to be a cop, you should learn how to do psychology then to study other people. Psychology, whatever course is needed to be a cop, not rocket science or freaking or whatever, English. If you want to be a journalist, yeah, you should learn how to write. You should have English major. You shouldn't have to learn any more math because you got that base level of math in freaking high school. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I think that's how I feel it should be taught when it comes to school. And that way, more people will be more graduate, more successful people will be able to graduate. If you can't handle that level of success, I don't know what to tell you. You chose that course.
College be wanting firebenders to be the avatar.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you can't be the avatar. There can only be one. And you have to be chosen.
I was lying to myself when I first got to college, acting like it made sense. Yeah, it makes sense for everyone to have to take every single kind of class the first year so you get the range of things. No, nigga, if I was sure about something when I came
exactly.
Let me be sure. Don't make me doubt myself now.
You want to be a psychologist? Here's a calculus book. Good luck. And you can't be one until you pass it.
You know what they told me when I went to college one day? I took French. French was a course of mine, right, in high school. So I wanted to just, take the next level of French. They was like, oh no, you have to take a French test to know where a lower French course to rank where you are in order for us to teach you that course. You can give you Spanish though. No, give me French. Give me I have the proof that I took French. Why are you ask me if I can have Spanish?
I'm trying to switch up my language.
Bro.
Right.
I said what I'm qualified for, and you got the nerve to tell me to switch my whole language up.
So, I think this is a first of all, thank you for your honesty and openness, right? What I'm hearing is that there's this lack of culturally responsive pedagogy or culturally sustaining pedagogy that says, hey, we see you and we're going to work with you for who you are. Instead, they have this formula on who they want you to be. And if you're not, if you don't acquiesce, right? If you resist of any sort of being that person, then ultimately you fail, right? But it's all being a part of this system. Yeah, and acquiescing to be a member of a system that doesn't play into your identity. So I do want to thank you guys for your time. Again, I looking at Black males' relationship in schooling and trying to find joy in it is a task. And I don't think that this is one that will ever finish. I think that for Black men to elicit joy, we do have to be recognized in our Blackness. And when I say our maleness, I don't mean it in the patriarchal way, but I mean it in reflective of what feminism teaches us, right? And how we relate to this openness and identity of us and self, and what can we be in our stance, and just transitioning that spirit that creates people in communities that are ready to make positive and progressive futures. So thank you guys and have a great day.
And don't be one of those people that schedule your classes late. You got 2-hour intervals in between classes. You have a class at 8 a.m. in the morning, and then all of a sudden your next class is at 3 p.m. You have to go home and come back? Like, come on.
If the drinking water in the school is able to make a rainbow, don't drink it. It's poison. I don't care how.
You can't get the classes you want. You have to take some other classes to fill up the schedule. You have to take something else. Yeah, they won't give it to you. It's retarded.
Don't drink rainbow water. It's poison.
School system. They retarded, yo. Like, don't make no damn sense.
I don't care how clean it is in New York.